Hello there, Cor is back to fight the chimeran scum once again, but this time on the home front. But before we get started, I want to give a shout out to Koko for the awesome artwork as usual. Now let's get this show started. Developed as a sequel to the very popular Resistance Fall of Man, Resistance 2 was originally revealed via Game Informer, showing off its 8-player co-op campaign, 60-player online multiplayer, and it being due to release fall of 2008. Resistance 2 also represents a drastic shift from the first game to the second, both in tone and gameplay. You play as Nathan Hale, continuing from where you left off in the first game, but now slapped into a new unit of soldiers just like you and promoted to lieutenant. From there, you pick off at the start of the invasion of the US. Honestly, the story is meh. It's got decent enough characters and writing up until the later half, and you can see what's coming from a mile away, and the ending is just such a goddamn fucking letdown. Seriously, I fucking hate the ending for this game, and the writers who thought this up, well, they should be given the same ending, because fuck them. Fuck them! Honestly, this really fucking rubs me the wrong way. It feels completely wrong. They took the fast-paced classic shooter style of gameplay away and moved towards modern shooters. It feels like Call of Duty with a Resistance skin over it. The guns themselves are still fun and cool, but I don't like the fact they replaced the health packs with fully regenerating health and heavily reduced the amount of health you have, forcing you to play this as a cover-based shooter instead of the fast-paced run-and-gun style of the first game. It feels wrong to have such a drastic shift. Another thing is they took away all of your guns. Now you only get to hold 2 goddamn guns at once. I hope you didn't enjoy being able to switch guns and playstyles on the fly, because now you're stuck with whatever you can find, and you'll be forced to toss good guns, just because you can't find a damn thing to put in them. Also, another thing is, oftentimes you'll find yourself saddled with AI super soldiers who can't die. And if you wait long enough, they'll pretty much just kill everything for you, making it much more boring. Also, I preferred how the first game, if you wanted help, you had to keep them alive, because they were just squishy normal humans. And they were fighting alien death machines, so obviously they didn't stand up as well. Now this section just feels much less intense. Overall, the gameplay just isn't the Resistance that I fell in love with. It's COD 2 Sci-Fi Boogaloo, and it ends up feeling like a much more generic and samey experience throughout the game. There's also a lot more bugs within the game as well. I at one point saw Capelli stuck walking endlessly on a cocoon until I came over and smashed it and his pathfinding started working again. I've also seen couches floating in the mid-air after being blown up by physics and other strange incidents. The controls are fine, there's nothing too crazy about them, though they did intentionally nerf side-to-side movement, and such to make it play more like modern shooters, and so you move slower trying to strafe. Honestly, there isn't much to say about the controls, they're just standard FPS at this point. So love them or hate them, that's how they're gonna play. This is one of the few areas the game does better than the first. It adds even more new and interesting monsters to see and kill. A downside of the new health system though is everything feels a lot more powerful. Everything can just drain your health insanely quick. So a lot of enemies feel cheap in how they almost or in many cases outright one-shot your ass. The enemies themselves though do look and sound very cool. I like how much detail they have, and there is a large variety in the types. Another difference between one and this game is the fact that enemies do oftentimes go down a lot easier now. They're not as robust.
Gotta move, Doctor.
The atmosphere can range from pretty meh to foreboding and even outright shocking. One instance that stands out clearly to me is the sight of San Francisco under attack from the Chimerans. Watching the ensuing chaos as the US military desperately fights a losing battle. while the chimerans throw everything they can to destroy the city, and the US defenses is quite a sight. Another instance I like is when you crash land into a town that's been attacked by spinners, as you slowly creep through the town waiting to be attacked, wondering when and where they'll strike, until suddenly they are on you and it's a desperate fight against the horde. This game had potential, especially given its killer predecessor. It's just sad to see how they shit the bed so hard in the other regards. The soundtrack is primarily orchestral and follows a lot of the audio themes of the first game, which is a good thing as I enjoyed the soundtrack in the first game. The guns and the audio sound pretty good and I didn't really notice any issues throughout my playthrough. The graphics are overall fine, they look pretty good, with plenty of detailing on the enemy models. The frame rate and performance is also solid, as far as I know. I didn't notice any real graphical hiccups, no stuttering of frames and such, though there is certainly a few bugs in the game. The hilarious ragdolls from the first game are back and better than ever, and at one point I saw a couch that was sent flying by a titan, and I found it in the back of the level just floating in midair. Looking at it caused me a death, but I found it pretty goddamn funny, so I wasn't mad. Enemy models are just as subject to this as the environment is. Oftentimes I'll send enemies careening into the void from a good placed grenade. Another humorous bug or feature is whenever you enter an elevator and take it up or down, if there is corpses on it, the corpses just fucking explode into a shower of red mist, which is goddamn hilarious. Pop goes the chimerans. I don't know. Besides the glaring, overt changing of everything that made Resistance what it was in the first game, I mean, that's a pretty big goddamn downside. I mean, I can't enjoy the game that much outside of when I'm finding bugs. The gameplay is just so unenjoyable. It feels so generic and boring. It's not what it was in the first game. And the nerfing of side strafing to be made slower is also an annoying change. Then you toss in the lackluster story and it's just turning out to be chock full of issues. But as you know, I give the devil its due. It does have some good aspects as well. The enemies are nice, the music is good, and the sound effects are quality. The graphics are fine, it's just overall just not as enjoyable as the first game. It's like what Resident Evil 6 did to Resident Evil. It completely changed the tone and style of the series, to the point that it was unrecognizable outside of having a skin and faint throwbacks to the older shit. So overall, what is my verdict? Honestly, I'm having a hard time giving this any recommendations at all. The only audience I could honestly recommend this to is those who like Call of Duty, but want to play through a different story and setting. If you're a fan of the first game, then you're just not going to be happy with this game. The egregious changing of the entire formula towards the oversimplification feels much more like a cheap cash grab on the popularity of Modern Warfare, which was the hot ticket at the time. I cannot in good faith recommend this game. It has its upsides as well, but ultimately it's not enough to redeem the package as a whole. I want to give one more shout out to Koko for the sweet artwork on this video today, and I want to ask y'all to check down below for our social media, our community, and how you can support the artist. Be sure to support the artist, they're great people. This has been Cor. Thank you for watching. I'm signing off.